1. King Charles and the reinvigoration of UK-France relations. 2. Trump's tariffs clash with Macron's Pomp, EU trade talks on the rise. 1. King Charles and the reinvigoration of UK-France relations. Picture this: a royal carriage rolling through Windsor's historic streets, carrying King Charles III and Queen Camilla alongside Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron. This state visit, a first by a French president since 2008 and a European Union leader since Brexit, is more than just ceremonial grandeur. It's a high-stakes effort to mend fractured Franco-British ties, and King Charles is stepping into the spotlight to lead this diplomatic dance. But here's the irony: this isn't just about royals playing host. Behind the smiles, there's a high-stakes game of diplomacy that could shape the future of European security, migration policies, and even how the West supports Ukraine. The UK and France, nuclear powers and UN Security Council members, are working to update their 15-year-old defense pact. This includes expanding the Combined Joint Expeditionary Force, CJEF, to other NATO allies, a move that positions both nations as Europe's military backbone. But trust remains fragile. Brexiteer tensions still linger, from the acrimonious submarine deal fallout to Macron's famous quip that Brexit was based on a lie. Now, with Russia's threat and Trump's looming UK visit, the stakes for cooperation couldn't be higher. Could this summit mark a genuine turning point, or is it another chapter in a centuries-old rivalry? Enter King Charles, a Francophile monarch with decades of diplomatic experience. At 76, he's already navigated complex geopolitics this year, hosting Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky at Sandringham and Windsor while balancing relationships with Trump and Macron. Fluent in French, he's used these skills to build personal bonds. Last year, his first state visit to France after Queen Elizabeth II's death saw him earn a Senate standing ovation for his French address, a gesture that resonated deeply with Macron. But critics argue monarchs in modern diplomacy are relics of the past. Richard Fitzwilliams, a royal commentator, counters, Charles is no figurehead. He's a strategic actor. His weekly audiences with the Prime Minister highlight this active role. The visit's ceremonial highlight, a state banquet at Windsor, is matched by policy firepower. A UK-France summit co-chaired by Sir Keir Starmer and Macron will tackle defence, AI, nuclear energy, and the thorny issue of migration. Both nations hope to agree on irregular migrant returns, including a controversial one-in, one-out deal. For every small boat arrival in the UK that France takes back, the UK might accept an asylum seeker from France seeking family reunification. Critics on Europe's Mediterranean borders fear this could become a domino effect, shifting migrants southward. On the flip side, migration experts like Megan Benton argue it's a pilot for broader EU solutions. What works for the Channel could work for the Mediterranean, she suggests. But UK opposition parties dismiss the idea as pathetic, accusing Labour of failing to curb Channel crossings. Ukraine remains central. Both nations will join Zelensky via video to discuss maintaining arms supplies. Macron and Starmer have been vocal about supporting Ukraine's combat readiness, even as peace talks loom. Post-ceasefire, they are positioning themselves to lead a reassurance force of willing coalition members. Yet tensions persist over how far Europe should push support. Sylvie Berman, former French ambassador to the UK, insists, our defence partnership must strengthen Europe's deterrence. Macron comes to London at a politically vulnerable moment. After losing his parliamentary majority and facing budget battles with France's left and far right, this visit offers a stage to project strength internationally. As Marc Roche, a French commentator, notes, the French are fascinated by the royal family. This visit could boost Macron's image. But symbolic gestures, like Prince William and Kate Middleton welcoming Macron, following Catherine's cancer treatment, carry deeper meaning. They signal generational continuity in Anglo-French relations. The road ahead won't be smooth. Sebastian Maillard, who helped create the European political community, admits lingering mistrust. The memory of Brexit's bitterness hasn't faded, he warns. Yet both nations share strategic imperatives. As Susie Dennison of the European Council on Foreign Relations observes, there's a certain distance, but things are operating quite well. King Charles's 2023 call to reinvigorate our friendship now faces its ultimate test. Will this visit prove symbolic, or will it forge concrete alliances? One thing is certain, the world is watching how these two nations navigate their intertwined past and shared challenges. So we ask you, is this revival real, or just a diplomatic facade? Share your thoughts below. 2. Trump's tariffs clash with Macron's pomp. EU trade talks on the rise. Big headlines and even bigger uncertainties. While France's President Emmanuel Macron is welcomed to London with all the royal splendor Britain can muster, it's Donald Trump's aggressive new tariffs that threaten to cast a shadow over the entire visit. If you think these kinds of international summits are all ceremony and no substance, this week's events will quickly prove otherwise. As Macron, accompanied by his wife Brigitte, touched down at RAF Northolt, he was met by the ever-charming Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate. The couple's first stop: Windsor, where King Charles III and Queen Camilla awaited for a grand carriage procession and a state banquet fit for a momentous occasion. The British capital, decked out in Union Jacks and tricolour French flags, seemed to signal a turning point in UK-French relations post-Brexit. But here's where it gets controversial. In the background, all eyes were actually on Washington, not Windsor. On the eve of Macron's visit, US President Donald Trump made headlines by posting images of signed letters to 14 countries, including major economies like Japan and South Korea, threatening steep tariff increases beginning August 1st. Even though the European Union didn't get a letter, yet, the message was loud and clear: nobody should feel safe from Trump's unpredictable trade moves, especially not the EU as it rushes to finalize a new agreement with the US. The stakes are high. During his trip, Macron is scheduled to meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and key business leaders, focusing the agenda on thorny challenges like migration, commerce, defense, and overall security. Yet, looming above these priorities is the question of how Europe, and France as its second-largest economy, should respond to Trump's potentially damaging tariffs. The UK government has called the visit a historic opportunity, but one can't ignore how geopolitical tensions have raised the pressure. On Tuesday, Holger Schmeiding, chief economist at Berenberg Bank, explained that the EU seems resigned to the fact that a baseline US tariff of 10%, plus sector-specific tariffs, is here to stay, at least for now. While there's hope for certain exemptions, for things like aircraft parts, the risk is that America could raise tariffs even higher, threatening the fragile post-pandemic economic recovery in Europe. Yet, isn't it odd that some policymakers seem willing to settle for minor concessions? Shouldn't there be a stronger pushback? The British, meanwhile, have left nothing to chance on the diplomatic front. Every detail of Macron's state visit is designed to impress: the carriage procession, the glittering banquet at Windsor Castle, and a speech by King Charles III underscoring the joint threats facing both countries. According to pre-released remarks, the monarch plans to stress how the UK and France are allies standing together against global dangers that no fortress can protect us against this time. This relationship isn't just for show. The Macrons have a notable rapport with the British royals. Remember in 2023, when King Charles addressed the French Senate in both English and French. And yes, he speaks both fluently. Those gestures matter, especially now, as Macron prepares to address British lawmakers himself and sit down for a high-stakes Franco-British summit with Starmer. Notably, this marks the first state visit by an EU head of state to the UK since Brexit. However, this is the part most people miss. While Starmer and Macron seem eager to rebuild bridges across the Channel, Starmer has also reportedly struck up a surprisingly friendly rapport with Trump, a relationship that could give him unique leverage in ongoing U.K./U.S. trade discussions. Trump himself declared that the UK was the first to secure a post-Brexit trade deal with Washington, suggesting they might be spared from the new tariffs, famously stating, "Because I like them." Contrast that with Macron's more fraught dealings with Trump, where previous summits have devolved into awkward exchanges and even public insults. Just last month, Trump called Macron publicity-seeking at a G7 meeting. Is it personal rivalry, or part of a larger strategy to unsettle Europe's leadership? So, what does all this mean for Europe's economic future, and for the transatlantic alliance? Will Britain and France find common ground in the face of American pressure, Or will Trump's go-it-alone approach force the EU into less favorable deals? Here's the question everyone's debating: should Europe push back harder against the US, or is cautious compromise the smarter play in an unpredictable world? What do you think? Is Trump's aggressive tariff strategy a necessary defense of American interests, or a reckless move that could undermine global trade and stability? And do state visits packed with ceremony actually make a difference when the real power plays are happening behind closed doors? Share your thoughts, especially if you see things from a different angle.